Good afternoon and welcome to the Quebec and Nunavut Regions Learning Day. My name is Valerie Plourde and I'm the NMC Regional Lead for the Quebec and Nunavut region. Please note that this event is being recorded and a YouTube link will be posted on our various social media accounts. We will also use Slido during this presentation. Also, because of because of a bad wide, it's possible that the speaker will lose his connection and disappear from the screen. If it happens, please let the system reconnect. Please click on your screens to mute your microphones and turn off your video. Learning days are one of many ways that NMC brings together over 40 K manager and aspiring manager all across the country. They cover a wide they cover a variety of topics that are important to you. Before starting, I would like to acknowledge that I'm located in Montreal in the territory of the Great Peace Treaty of 1701, the traditional territory of the Canadian Ka Mohawk. I invite you to take a moment to reflect on the territory on which you find yourself. It's a pleasure to introduce you to our presenter today, Stephane Tourangeau. Stephane is a near 30 years career public servant who has spent the majority of his career in learning and development, employee engagement, public service-wide collaboration, digital communication, and digital service delivery. To name a few, he has led and participated in the delivery of several important public service-wide initiatives, such as implementing the digital engagement strategy for the launch of Blueprint 2020, led the capacity building file for the newly formed Canadian Digital Service, and has been a strong voice encouraging the use of social media and collaborative tool GC 2.0 for the Government of Canada. Stephane provides team building workshop and is accredited in insight discovery, everything disc, and language of appreciation, psychometric tools helping individuals understand their personality style and how in teams we can work better together. Stephane is currently senior advisor working on learning at Measurement Canada. Following the presentation gave during the virtual conversation for manager last October, today Stephane will expand on the 5 languages of appreciation and understanding the importance of how and when to apply them. Manager will gain further insight by exploring how appreciation links to personality type and provide you with tips and tricks for applying them with your team and its member. Thank you all for joining us for this important discussion. Stephane, it's your
Bonjour,
turn.
hi. Bonjour, Valérie. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for being here and participating in this discussion. From past experience of delivering this session, we have a lot of content to cover within the next hour, so I'm going to try to be to provide you with as much information as possible. So it's an honor and a pleasure to be re-invited to speak to the national managers community, this time to the Quebec and Nunavut region. The topics that we're going to be talking about today is appreciation in the workplace and understanding our personality types, which, as Valerie mentioned, is an extension of what I did at the national event that was held last October. So again, thank you for the invitation. I'm happy to be here, and I'll be sharing some resources over the course of the presentation, and we'll definitely be sharing some information with you following this event. So to start off with, I'm Stephane Tourangeau. Yes, I'm a senior advisor working at Measurement Canada. A lot of you don't know what Measurement Canada does. I'll be brief. We're here to enact the Weights and Measures Act and the Electricity and Gas Inspections Act for the Government of Canada. So for those of you, just give you a quick example on the electricity and gas side. If you go to the gas pump and you see a sticker that says Innovation, Science and Economic Development of Canada, there's a Measurement Canada there. So we're responsible there. We're also responsible in doing a lot of things that I'd be happy to share about outside of the context of this presentation. So today, again, I'm going to be talking about appreciation in the workplace, how important it is to apply the 5 languages of appreciation, understanding them, and also making linkages to personality profiles. As managers, you've probably had the opportunity in the past to participate or to have done an insights discovery assessment. If so, perfect, great. If not, not a problem. I'll be covering the basic examples so that you can get a good handle on the content that I'm talking about. To start off with, the past year hasn't been easy. Our working conditions have changed, our teams have changed, our needs have changed, the needs of our clients have changed. We've had to show that we're resilient in our approaches. Resilience is not a trait that people have or do not have. It's an actual set of behaviors and thoughts and actions that we can be learned and developed. And the past year has definitely demonstrated that we are resilient as public service managers. So to start off with, what I'm going to do, I'm going to share with you a link in your chat. It's a quick Slido poll, and I'm hoping you can get this. Just click on it. You should get on there, and you will see the first question that I'm asking. How easy was it for you to adapt to new workplace conditions a year ago? And the answers are listed here. Difficult, somewhat difficult, easy, we are adapting, or very easy. For those of you who cannot access Slido directly, so it's in the chat right now. If you click on that link, it should take you to the right place. And I'm just going to wait a few seconds here so we can see the results as they pop up. So I'll share the results of what we have so far. And sharing my screen would probably be a good thing. Okay, so can everyone see my screen? Okay, yes, you can. So you can see the results from the survey at this point. A year ago, people have said that it was somewhat difficult. So I'll stop this poll right now, and I'm going to switch over to the following poll. Same page. You don't need to go anywhere. You should have the new poll that's displayed. The question is now, how about now? How are you feeling? How is it, how your adaptation of these workplace conditions are working for you? So you can see compared to our previous poll, there's still some difficulties, but people have adapted compared to a year ago. So this goes to show that, with the shifting conditions, the shifting of our workplace conditions and the environments which we are in and working with at this point, people have been able to adapt regardless of the situation. And again, as managers, I want to commend you for the flexibility that you've had in order to adjust to not only deliver on your work files, but also most importantly to be there and work with your employees and change most likely your management style or approach given the current circumstances. So tip of the hat to you. It's not been easy. You folks have worked extremely hard in adjusting and to set to these conditions. So again, congratulations, and then tip of the hat to you. So the theories I'm going to be talking about today is an expansion of what I've covered in October, and there are theories about the appreciation in the workplace is a theory of both Dr. Gary Chapman and Paul White. And you can take a look at it online. I'll be sharing some resources, but essentially it's the 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace. I'm also going to be talking about Carl Jung's theory of personality types. And for those of you who are familiar with this, it talks about the 4 different personality types, and I'll make the linkages between that and appreciation in the workplace. So what has these new conditions in the workplace provided us or offered us or basically left us with? So one, little to no human contact. we're obviously required to stay at home, especially on the Quebec side and now on the Ontario. And even across the country, there are different restrictions that are imposed upon people. For some people, for example, like in my department, we have some people that work in laboratories. They need to be there. They have no choice but to be in the workplace. But the majority of our workforce has been working behind the screen. Every people's conditions are different. No one is the same. Some people have small children. Some people have children that are being schooled at home. So it's pretty difficult to carry on your regular work duties compared to what it was a year ago. Um, when we're talking about little or no human contact, obviously, body language is 55% of nonverbal communication. So, not being able to see people, it's pretty difficult to adapt. Some people might, not have the same finesse of writing emotions in text. So we could be set at home and be in a situation where, okay, well, what did that person mean? Or, without seeing the actual verbal communications and cues. And also, our boundaries of work have also shifted quite immensely. What is 8 to 4, 9 to 5? People have had to adjust as best as they can to ensure that their working conditions are ensuring them that they're working at their best. So that said, we've had to self-regulate ourselves. We've had to initiate certain conditions upon ourselves, such as, strict work hours. We've had to look at self-care, which is quite important. Whereas, before we used to travel maybe an hour to get to work, which would give us an exercise, give us some walking. We'd be able to walk to work and shake it up a little bit. Whereas now, getting to work is probably 2 minutes from jumping out of bed to making a coffee to sitting down and having your first MS Teams and Zoom meeting. So there's been a lot of adjustments that we've had to do. Now, that said, what's important to understand is that appreciation in the workplace is quite important. And for you as managers, you need to ensure that you demonstrate appreciation to your employees so that they feel comfortable, so that they feel appreciated, they feel that their work is being valued. And also, some of the benefits of this will ensure that, increased productivity and, just provide better mental health to all of your team members. So ask yourself the question, why is appreciation important? I'm just going to switch slide here. So appreciation is important for a variety of things. One, it improves morale, individuals and team morale. That's a basic benefit. By showing appreciation to your employees, it shows the value of the work that they do. It also shows the value that they bring to the team. And again, as I mentioned earlier, 55% of communications is nonverbal language. So we're missing all those visual and verbal cues. So for you as managers, it's important that you show appreciation for your employees and, apply consistently amongst your team members. So it improves morale. It's an excellent motivator for your team members. It will definitely improve team performance. Collegiality also amongst your team members. This is quite important. And also, for me, if I show that I'm appreciated for the work that I'm doing, just like my current state here, my manager is very good for this. The work that I'm doing, I don't feel like it's work. I feel like I'm part of an overall mission. I feel appreciated for the work that I'm doing. I feel respected for the work that I'm doing. And, it allows me to be at my best and to give my 150%. So we're going to talk about the 5 languages very shortly, but why is appreciation important, and what are some of the cues that you can use to know that appreciation might be needed within your teams? One simple cue is when you see there's a certain disconnect amongst your employees. It could be the whole team and yourself, there's a disconnect. Hopefully that is not the case. There could be a certain disconnect amongst certain members of your teams. There could be impacts on work performance. Are the deliverables, are the expectations for the deliverables that your employees are doing, are they realistic and do they make sense? Are they, some people have the ability to negotiate deliverables. Other people are more like, tell me what you need to do and I'll do it, but can have difficulties in negotiating the workload. For well-being as well, appreciation is also a great driver for an individual's well-being. And again, as I mentioned, team camaraderie. So what I'll do now is I'll talk about the 5 different languages of appreciation, and I'll show you some examples for that. But before, I just want to highlight that we're going to be taking some questions in a little bit. So if you have any questions at any time, by all means, please use the chat feature, and we'll take your questions there. So according to the 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace, there are 5 different types of appreciation types. So we've got words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, tangible gifts, and physical touch. Don't make any assumptions right now. I will go through each of them and explain them in detail. So before I just actually finish this is, not everyone likes to be appreciated the same way, hence the 5 languages. Here, what I'm showing you is tools that the 5 different languages of appreciation, but these are tools that you can ask your employees how they wish to be appreciated, because not everyone wants to be appreciated the same way. So we'll start with words of affirmation. Words of affirmation is essentially something that could be said either via email or said via, during a live conversation with your team members, where you actually commend someone for work that they've done. It's a form of recognition, but you're appreciating what they bring to the table. You're appreciating what that person is bringing to the team for a certain act or whatnot. So words of affirmation can either be verbal or can either be written. The next one is quality time. This one is interesting. Quality time is, everyone has a certain quality or has a certain competency in something that maybe another person doesn't have. Just to backtrack a little bit, we all have different experiences. We all have different life beliefs. We all have, or different baggages. Not everyone has the same DNA. So, for example, quality time could be, for example, let's say I'm quite used to doing video, but somebody at work doesn't like to do video. So maybe I could offer some quality time to someone to share some expertise or to share, tips and tricks on how to accomplish things. The next one is acts of service. And here I like to always use that same example of a former ADM I used to work with at Treasury Board. For those who've worked in deputy minister or assistant deputy minister cabinet offices, you'll know that when a new minister comes into play or a new deputy minister, there are binders to create. So one example of an access service is an ADM that we've worked with before, who has offered his help to his team when it came to creating those binders. The team worked hard all weekend to collect all the facts, create briefing notes, to compile all the information to create this binder. And we were exhausted when it was the deadline, the cutoff time to give this binder. And the ADM essentially took his jacket off and rolled his sleeve and said, everyone out, my act of service for you today. I'll complete the printing of the binder, stood in front of the photocopier and perform an act of service to people. And I could also take this back to one of the experiences, like I said, quality time. I know how to do video. Well, I've actually performed acts of service to some team members a couple of weeks ago where, thank you so much for what you've done. And what I'll do is I'll do this for you because I know how to do this. For you, might take a couple of hours to try to figure out how to do it, whereas I could do it in 5 minutes. So that's one way I can show appreciation. The other one, tangible gifts. We're all familiar with iBoutique, or I hope you are. Tangible gifts is one way of doing it. Another tangible gift example is, at Christmas or at Easter, send your teams little eggs. I know it's not It's not as easy today because we're all working remotely. We don't have an office space, so it's a little bit difficult, but those are examples of that. And then personally, personally, my favorite, which is completely inapplicable at this point, is physical touch. And let me explain. Physical touch could be an example of giving someone a handshake, or could also be a high five. So personally, with my my personality type and my profile, for me, physical touch is best because what I do, I have fun. It's not work. I don't need words of affirmation. Quality time, yeah, fine, okay. Acts of service, I think I'm pretty good at what I do, and I appreciate people providing acts of services. Tangible gifts, nah, don't need any. I think I got everything. But a physical touch, just a high five, that is good enough for me, and that's all I need. So these are the 5 different languages. And let me just explain to you, with the situation that we're in, the pandemic, it's difficult to apply any of these to your employees now. But for you as managers, you have a responsibility to actually consult your team and ask them how they prefer to be appreciated. I have here that I didn't show this morning during the presentation, but there is the MBA inventory for the Appreciation at Work accreditation, because it is an accreditation. You can you can pay to get your employees to complete an inventory so you can determine best what are the levels or appreciation, or the modes of appreciation your employees want. I'll share that in the text right away. Okay, but there's also, if you look on this website, there's the Learn and the blog component here. You could also go here, and there's going to be some personalized tools for you, or some, excuse me, some tools that are available that will allow you to get an understanding of doing this without actually paying for the price of the evaluation. So now what I'm going to do, so these are the levels of appreciation. And again, appreciation is a must to get the multiple benefits of improving team relationships, interpersonal relationships amongst your team members, getting the most out of your employees, getting them to be as productive as possible. If I feel I'm appreciated, you're going to get the best as much as possible from me, and that has tons of value. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to explain to you a little bit about the personality types, and I'll make the linkages between the 5 languages and the personality types. So some of you have done Everything Disc, some of you have done Insights Discovery. If you've done Insights Discovery, I encourage you to share your colors in the chat bot. Just to show you briefly, Carl Jung's preferences basically described into 8 different types, but I'll summarize it into 4 different types. So he summarized it that everyone has a combination of all personality types. Some of them are more prominent in certain colors than others, but we're a combination of all 4 personality types. And please let me state here quite clearly, there's not one personality type that's better than another. Everybody has their own brain factor in the work environment. So it's important to note that not one is better than the other. So I'll share with you a little bit about the 4 different personality types. One, excuse me, the fiery red, which is essentially people that you'll see mostly leading some very important files that are, these are people that are competitive, demanding, they're determined, purposeful. They're the type of people where you're going to be walking into their office. Back then, when we used to do that, they'll be typing, but they'll be listening to you at the same time, but they're still focused to get to the mission, get to the goal, get things done. Then you've got your sunshine yellow type, which is kind of mine. So for those who are responding, thank you. I'm a combination of yellow, red, green, and then blue. So yellow being my dominant color, I'm the sociable, dynamic, demonstrative, enthusiastic, and persuasive type. But I'm also considered, and this is to all the yellows, my apologies for saying this, but I think you will probably agree with me when I say we're kind of the little squirrely type people where we're so gung-ho for doing things, for being there, for helping out, but then we often get distracted by other shiny objects, which is okay, but it's just part of our personality, right? Then you've got the cool green personality types, and these are what I consider more the support type people, not meaning that you're playing a support role, but these are people that, they're caring, they're encouraging, they're sharing, they're patient, they're relaxed. They're the type of people where, I've conducted exercises with different color types before, and they're the type of people that will take the time when they get into work and ask you the question, how are you doing, before saying, where's that file? Okay. So the green people are, they're more of a people focused type group. And then you've got the cool blue people, the cautious, the precise, deliberate, questioning, formal. Don't go to a blue person or a person with a blue preference and tell them, well, look, I want this report by the end of the day, no matter what. If that report is not complete, accurate, and to the standard of that individual, you will not get that information. So, for example, we work in a regulatory organization, and 75% of our inspectorate is considered cool blue, and that fits the profile. We work with some pretty complex mathematical equations. Need to make sure, when we're working with electricity and gas, we're doing some testing. We got to be very accurate in what we're doing. Even writing our reports or our policies, we have to make sure that we're quite accurate. So it's an example of what they are. But also, Carl Jung's theory came into describing the types of feeling that people have and the introversion, extroversion. So the people that are more on the northern sphere, so the blue and the red people, they're more thinking type of people. Whereas the green and yellow, they're more feeling type people. So for example, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. When I say something, I'm happy, I'm expressive. When I'm unhappy, you'll see shortly, I'm quite expressive as well. And then if you look on the left and the right hemisphere, you look at the right hemisphere, people with the red and the yellow color profiles, they're more extroverted types of people, whereas the people on the left hand or the left hemisphere, they're more introverted. So just using this here and working with your team members, you're able to identify sort of the personality traits or the color profiles of the people that you're working with. Now, just before I get into further into this is, for example, me, I'm a yellow, so I'm yellow, red, and then green, and then blue. And what does that mean is normally if you're strong in a certain color, your opposite color, so in this case, blue is my opposite color. For me to conduct work that is more bluish type, let's say data analytics, it's going to require a lot more energy for me to complete work that is more associated to blue. And then the same thing for red people, it's going to be the opposite is green. So it's going to be a bit more difficult for people to show some of the characteristic traits of the green people. So that said, and why is it important for you? As a manager, if you take the time to understand the color preferences of your employees, you're able to adjust the workload based on what their preferences are or what their profiles are. So it helps you get the most out of your employees, and at the same time, it helps you get the most out of them, and they feel more valued. Now, I'm going to share on a bad day, if you're going to be, and you probably this is, well, actually, this is another tip that'll help you identify some of your employee types if they haven't done the insights. On a bad day, for those who will recognize someone that's red, they're going to be a little bit more aggressive, controlling, intolerant. They have no patience or very little patience. On a bad day for somebody like me that's yellow, again, I mentioned earlier, we're quite expressive. So we'll be quite expressive as well when something doesn't go well. And I'm not saying we're going to be extravagant and going, frantic all the way, but these are some of the traits that you'll see. For the green people, obviously, bland, plodding, stubborn. A person with a green energy is one that brings peace to an environment. And when it's not going well their way, they'll sort of be reclusive and not share as much as possible. And then lastly, those that are blue, suspicious, cold, reserved, stuffy, and indecisive. Obviously, if they've been asked to give that report by the end of the day and they're not ready and they have no choice, these are the kind of personality traits you're going to see from them. So we're going to be providing you with the presentation at the end of the day. Well, what I want to do here is to show you a list of words that's actually from Insights. And it shows you some different personality traits of the individuals based on color. So for example, if I'm yellow, and you use this as a tip sheet, more or less, of being able to identify the different personality types of people. If you look, for example, yellow, people cheerful, enthusiastic, fun, sociable, optimistic, engaging, influencing. Yes, those are traits of yellow people. Not saying that the others do not have these, but these are the most common traits that you're going to be seeing. For yellow, for red, somebody that's determined, objective, challenging, firm, well-argued, assertive, decisive, realistic. These are the characteristic traits for those. Cooperative, stable, steady, constant, harmonious, amenable, sensitive. Green, definitely, those are these character traits for these. Everybody needs some green in their life. And again, we're all a combination of 4 different color types. And then finally, accurate, tactful, cautious, calculating. These are all the characteristic traits, of people with the blue energy as the most common one. So making linkages between what we're seeing here and the 5 languages of appreciation is, if we look for words of affirmation, definitely people that have a certain type of personality traits will want words of affirmation. And I'll go back to this one here. People that are in the yellow and in the green, they seem to be preferring more of the words of affirmation, and also the red as well. If we look at, if we looked at quality time, we can make linkages to people that are in the green and yellow. There are more people that these are the types of people that would prefer to have more quality time with people, to have discussions and to discuss. If we looked at acts of service are appreciated more to people that could be of the blue, the green, and the yellow, and even a little bit of the red. And then, look at tangible gifts. Obviously, all color types appreciate tangible gifts, some more than less, and physical touch. I'll associate this one mostly to the fiery red color, and the yellow being the dynamic and demonstrative, because it's easy, it's fast, and it's collegial, and it's huge. Thank you, boom, gone, and off to the next. So that is, in a nutshell, what my presentation is. And I know we want to keep some time for some questions, but I'll stop there and I'll follow up with some important points afterwards. Valérie.
Sure. Stephane, do you want to finish your sentence? Take your time. If you had something to add, please feel free to do.
I'll add it in questions, because I know it's going to come up.
Sure, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you, Stephane, for this wonderful presentation. We will now take participants' question. You can ask the question using the chat box. While you're typing your question, I have a first question for you, Stephane. Offering appreciation to our team member is important. However, the current workplace conditions are quite different than the regular circumstances that we used to know, or that it was a year ago. What are tips and tricks to apply this concept to the current reality that we are in now?
Yeah, I think what's important as a manager is to take your time and understand the needs or the level of appreciation required by each of your employees. Do touch-ins with your employees, try to identify, ask them the question, say, how do you want to be appreciated using these 5 different languages? Again, not everybody wants to be appreciated the same way. If you can offer the MBA, as I showed you earlier, to your employees and ask them the questionnaire, that is perfect, because that's going to give you a wealth of information. I also highly encourage you to do some team building workshops using insights. I've done team building workshops in my new organization since I've been there for 3 years now. I've had the pleasure of meeting every member across the organization, and I can see Roland is here, and he can attest to that. And I've had the pleasure of meeting every team and doing some insights, team building workshops for them. What it allows you to do, it allows you to, you know, it shows that you're interested in their well-being. It shows that you're interested into improving employee morale and, team cohesion. What also I can recommend is take the time to ask the questions to your team members, but also to your team as a whole. There's a lot of different tips and tricks that you can use, but you have to understand that we're people first. The most important resource is not the amount of budget that you have or the amount of cars that you have in your fleet, or what's in your cabinet, or the camera tools that the office is providing you, or technology. The people are the most important resource. So take the time to chat with your employees individually and as teams. Another tip I can share is find those times to connect personally with people, either one by one or in a team setting. One example is when you start your weekly team meetings, don't start with, okay, we got a lot of work on the plate here. Take the time to be a person before being a manager. I know sometimes you might not have that liberty to do that, but take the time to ask the question to your team members and your employees, and being human before actually being a manager. And also another thing that I've seen that we like to do is do some little social events with some people. Social events such as a 30-minute off-topic Zoom or MS Teams meeting, and chat about anything and everything that is not related to work. One thing that they've done in our organization is they've set up a bingo, mostly for GCWCC. We had one for Easter. I'm sorry, I'm a fan of bingo. It's not like being in a bingo hall. But it's just an activity that is completely different than the norms of my work environment. And showing that we're people first and not necessarily machines or employees, or getting, people getting the job done. It gives me that team camaraderie, understanding people, understanding, people's personalities outside of the context of work.
Stephane, I just heard take the time to talk to your people, know their type. Great idea. Absolutely. Let's try to apply this with our team. Stephane, we got another question here for you, actually. This one is, why is it so important for us to know the personality type of our employees? And how can it make a difference in improving interpersonal relationship? You just talked about knowing people type. Why is it so important?
You see, I'll give you a couple of examples. Well, actually, I'm going to give you just one example here. I used to work when I was back in my days at Transport Canada. I had a person that was supporting us for the training that we were doing, and she was doing a fantastic job. She was really on the ball, but she required answers that sometimes we didn't have, or the priorities amongst one employee is not the same amongst another employee. And this person required to have some rapid responses, and I wasn't able to provide those responses as rapidly as this person wanted. So that created a lot of frustration, and animosity. And it's not because I wanted to, it's because one person's priority is not necessarily my priorities. So I've taken the concept of insight, not actually giving an insight profile or completing anything, but I took the concepts of insights of saying, Okay, well, I'm this type of person. I operate in this fashion. So how can I adapt and adjust? So I had a quick conversation. Okay, you want answers now, whereas I can't provide you answers now. How about we do this? So we set up two 15-minute meetings twice per week. I'll go through all your files. You've got 15 minutes of my attention. If you want more, I can give you more, but let's just agree. And then we did that. We actually got an understanding of each other that we only needed to have 10 minutes a week, because in 10 minutes, we can get all of our stuff done without having to make it complicated. So why is it important to understand people's personality types? It's to be able to improve interpersonal relationships with people, to understand how one communicates, which is different than how another person communicates. You know, I talked about the fiery red earlier. You're going to walk into a fiery person with fiery red. They're probably going to be the ones typing on their keyboard while looking at you and talking to you. They're giving you the attention while multitasking, but this is how probably a fiery red will operate. For me as a green, I might look at this and say, oh, no, I want your full attention. So it's important for the red to understand that the green requires your attention, so you can look at the person and give that person attention, whereas, understanding the other person. So why is it important? It's to understand that we're all different, but we need to have that common thread of decoding how one will work and another won't work. We've all had an annoying colleague, but that colleague is not annoying. That colleague is working a certain way, and you don't understand how that person works. So it helps to decode the language to be able to work better together.
Oh, Stefan, that was so helpful, especially when you're working with people that are not necessarily your type. Definitely that can help a lot.
Absolutely.
Stefan, question again for you from a participant. Do you have any recommendation for a team that has all similar insight profiles? Will there be a lot of blind spots if we all think in a similar manner?
Well, recommendations, yes, I can give that to you. First of all, if you're a similar type of environment, like if you're all predominant red and then yellow and then green and then blue, um, you know if there's certain tensions working amongst your team members, is have these conversations and how we can work better together. If everyone within the team has done their insights profile, what I highly recommend is, well, first of all, if you haven't done this and you want to do team building, communicate with Insights Discovery, or I can give you the information. Get your profiles done, and obviously you can't just have a profile with having an insight session done, but something can be fixed. Do it, and then once you've done this, you can take your profile and share it with people amongst your team, and it shows in there. Like for me, Stephane, what is my strong points? What are some of my blind spots? What are some of my shortcomings? So you take that information, you can share it amongst your team members, so you get to understand more about how to operate with another person. And it's not a question of, oh, now I need to put white gloves in order to approach this person this way or whatnot. No, it's about respecting people, which is the second value in the code of values and ethics. It's respecting, but taking it beyond. It's understanding this person's style. It's understanding the way this person operates. And I think it's highly important to do so.
Respect and understanding, key words here for me.
We are all
Thanks.
human.
Absolutely, and not machine. Although we work with a lot of technologies these days, but we remain human behind all this. Stefan, we have another question. What are the best tips to connect with someone who is completely opposite language style from your own? I'll give you an example, Stefan. Personally, I'm a bright yellow combined with a red. And back then, a few years ago, I was working with a manager that was a pure dark blue.
Yeah.
What would you recommend when you're working in a complete opposite style?
Yeah, and you know what? That exactly as you said, it's your opposite style. So, how many people? Before I just a side note, how many people have I annoyed with my sunshine yellow, and they were cool blue? I've annoyed a lot of people because I'm like, let's do it, let's cheer it on, and they're all like, Let's get down to business. Let's do the facts and I'm not saying they're all like this. I'm just saying, I'm giving a general. And again, not one color is better than another. So a tip is to actually take the time and talk to your colleague. Let's look at this here. If you and me, you are, let's say, for example, Valérie, you are that cool blue and I'm the sunshine yellow, and we're working together on a daily basis and we keep butting heads on issues, and I'll end this call and I'll be mad. I won't say the words, but I'll be mad. This is completely non-productive. If I'm going to hang up and say, no, this did not go the way that I wanted to, it's completely unproductive. So one-on-one conversations on how can we work better together. The example with my support member that, when I was at Transport Canada, take the time to say, well, how about if we do it this way? Or how about if we do it this way? And if you're using some of the tips and tricks of the insights discovery and understanding your personality types, you can take some of that information by saying, this is how I work. This is how I operate. And sometimes, my apologies, you might see me as flamboyant, but that's my energy and that's what I bring to the table. And I'm good to do this, I'm good to do that, but I'm not as good to do that. And then you have that conversation with the other person and you try to find a mutual agreement on how we can work better together. Because at the end of the day, we are all here to do the work of the government of Canada. We're public servants. We're all here to be, proudly serve and have anyways, I'm not going to do the flag thing here, but you get an understanding of what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely, Stephane. And we have to remember that the opposite can be sometimes a good team because we cover the weakness of the other type. So
you nailed it. Yeah, you nailed it on the head. So if I'm going to be working with somebody that's cool blue, I'm really good in statistics, but what could take somebody 2 minutes is probably going to take me 15. So it's try to find that understanding. But also, there's also let's put in some language of appreciation terminology in here. You can also offer an act of service. If you do this for me, I'll do this for you. And you can exchange services into that. Because, for example, if I go and work in an Excel spreadsheet and try to figure out how to do this computational value, whereas my colleague that used to sit beside me and that's now 10 kilometers away can do this in 2 seconds. Well, here's a way that I'll exchange this with you. Do skills exchange amongst your team members. So, yeah.
Very good tip, Stephane. We have another question from a participant. What is the best way to share your profiles with your senior management, knowing that they have a large team to manage? Very good question. What do you think about that?
Different ways. One, create a resume or a short resume of what your profile is. When you're most likely going to have opportunities within your teams of having, so take the coat off and the hat off moments where we're just going to talk as human beings. Use that as an introduction to yourself. Talk about your personality style and personality traits. Or even when you're having one-on-one conversations with a member of a senior member of the senior management committee or your management committee, introduce yourself by break the ice and saying, hey guys, if you've done insights before, I'm Sunshine Yellow. I've got a lot of bring factor to this team. I'm looking forward to working with you. And then obviously this is going to generate a conversation. I'm going to say what Greg Bass has mentioned here. Yes, your Lego blocks. This is perfect. To use it as your profile photo in Teams, that is amazing. You can definitely use that. But it's take the time to introduce it. What I like to do as well is when I do my team building workshops, as I mentioned to people, once you receive your profile, share it amongst your team members. Let them know. Or when we used to be in a physical environment, print the pages and just put one page on the side of your cubicle. We don't have that luxury anymore, but there's always ways that you can share with people and say, hey, this is how I operate, this is how I work.
Absolutely. And Stephane, we got a suggestion here, a comment. You can use an image of your Lego block as your profile photo in a Teams.
That's
What
an
a good
amazing
idea.
suggestion. Yeah, amazing suggestion.
Super cool. We'll take another question here. Body language is such an important part of communication. Have any departments that you are aware of made decision on mandatory use of cameras during team meetings or one-on-one meetings rather than simply encouraging their use?
Well, there's a way to do this. First of all, I'm not, and this is a personal sense for me, I'm not a big fan of, managers imploring that employees open their cameras. Um, for several reasons. Mainly, not everyone is comfortable in sharing their camera picture to other people. Admittedly, I gained some pounds during the pandemic, so I'm okay with sharing this. But other people might not be as comfortable into sharing this as I would. Um, it all depends the dynamics of the team. It depends on the relationship amongst the manager and the team members. You always, in my opinion, you have an obligation as a manager to ensure that your team is top performing at its best whenever possible, and that's showing the personal side, showing the team building side. So it's important to make sure you understand how your team wants to operate. I've heard situations where some managers have had, at 8 o'clock every day, we're going to meet for 30 minutes, cameras on. Okay. I don't look my best at 8 o'clock in the morning. So, I'm sure some people probably do. Um, is this a good practice or not? I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it isn't. But at the same time, you have to make sure that you're attentive to your employees' needs. Having the camera on at 8 o'clock in the morning every day, if you used to have meetings at 8 o'clock with everyone in the boardroom on a certain day and you're continuing that tradition, fine. If you're doing this as a new measure, you're creating an environment where, put yourself in the employee's shoes. Why this now? Am I being watched? I know they do this for my son's high school. He's upstairs and they have to flash a camera once in a while, but after that they can close the camera, but they can speak and it shows that they're there, they're present. The teacher can say your name at any time. So just be careful when you're using that.
Very good, Stephane. We're almost at the end of this presentation, but I would like to read some of the comments we received that I thought was quite creative. When I did my inside training, I received color blocks to put into my signature block. That is quite interesting, isn't it?
Nah, it is. I like that.
Yep, absolutely. So Stephane, listen, unfortunately, that's all the time we had for questions. The information and tools that Stephane shared with us today will certainly be very helpful in navigating this period of continual adaptation for you and your teams, and will hopefully help you to take care of you and your team in these difficult times. I would like to thank all the participants for joining us today. Thank you to Stephane as well, the NMC team, and the member of the Learning Steering Committee for helping to coordinate this event. We hope that you will take part in the next National Learning Day, which will take place next fall. There are many more ways. There are many more virtual conversation planned for the upcoming months. I strongly encourage you to follow us on Twitter at NMC_CNG and Facebook. And most recently, we just got a LinkedIn profile as well. And to read our newsletter for all the updates and information on how to register. Until then, be well and have a great day. See you next time. Thank you.